Everyone. I am talking to my colleague Paola, who works at the Fitzwilliam Museum. Hi Paola, how are you doing?
Hi, Nikki. I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's really good to see your face.
Yes, finally,
Yeah.
after weeks.
Okay, Paola, I've got a few questions for you today. First question is, what job do you do and what do you enjoy about it?
Okay, well, I work at the Fitzwilliam Museum and I am the senior research scientist, which means that I use scientific methods to study the objects in the museum's collection. And there are, I think, two things that I like the most about it. One is that I get to handle and research really special historic objects. And also I'm often the first one to discover things about them that nobody's known ever, or, not for many, many years. So my job is a bit like working on very, very cold cases, as like CSI Florence 1500. So that's really exciting, I think. And then the other thing my job is that I get to work with lots of people in different areas of the museum. So curators and conservators and the learning department and the comms department. So there's never a dull day, really.
Great, that's wonderful. I love the CSI element. That's brilliant. Excellent. Have you always wanted to work in a museum?
I'm not sure I always wanted to work in a museum. I've always been interested in history. So when I was about 12, I really, really wanted to be an archaeologist. That was my dream as a child. But then someone said I'd have to learn that. And I thought, oh, that's way too hard. No, thank you very, very much. So I went on and studied physics instead.
Very different.
Yeah. Okay. And not hard at all. Absolutely, no.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thanks, Paola. So you said about studying physics. What was your educational pathway?
So the first thing I should say is that I did all of my studies in Italy, where the system is a bit different from here in the UK. So I did a very scientifically focused type of secondary school. So lots of physics and maths. But we also did history and Latin and philosophy at the same time. So up until university, basically, I had sort of a broad background. And then I did physics as an undergraduate. And that's when I realized what I really wanted to do. So my master's and PhD then were very focused on what we now call heritage science. It was called conservation science at the time, but it's scientific ways of studying historic objects.
But that's wonderful. So did you study that whilst doing your physics undergrad? Was it brought into the curriculum?
It was only at the very end.
Okay.
So the first 3 years of physics were the same for everybody. And then on the 4th year of the course, you could choose specific courses that, and your last year project you could choose. And so I did take courses on carbon-14 dating, for example, or archaeometry, which is the scientific study of archaeological objects. So I did get a little bit of that at the end of my undergraduate, yes.
Oh, that was lucky. Good stuff. Yeah. Before the job you're in now, what experience of work did you have?
So I did a few sort of short-term contracts with the university. After I finished my PhD, I kept in touch with my PhD supervisor and did sort of short-term research contracts. And that was really lucky because I had a great opportunity to do what's called a postdoctoral research placement in Washington, D.C. at the National Gallery of Art, which is a big, famous museum. And so that was my first sort of real job experience. I spent 3 years there, and then I was hired by the Fitzwilliam 8 years ago.
Wonderful. 8 years. Wow. What are the most important skills and attributes that you need to do your job? I say finally, I've got another question after this, but let's go with this one first. What are the most important skills and attributes that you need to do your job?
Okay, I think the first one is curiosity. You have to be really curious. As I said, it's a bit like forensic science. You really want to have to investigate things and find out things that are not immediately apparent. And the second is is open-mindedness. Because a lot of times you think you're going to find something, and so you're all geared for that. And if you stick to that, you won't actually see what is really there. You risk missing things, missing clues because you're not ready for them. And also because it's such a sort of a cross-disciplinary field, the one that I work with, you really have to be open and listen to people who've got completely different expertise and different background, and trying to incorporate their thinking into your work. So yeah, I think those are two big things.
Amazing, thank you. And finally, the last question, what would you tell your younger self if you had the opportunity?
Oh, goodness me. Study Greek? No, not true. No, I think just do what you like to do. I've always tried to do that, and it really pays out.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think everyone should do that and not feel pressured into sort of doing one specific route. Yeah, really nice advice.
No, or, things that pay most. Who cares? No, not really. You have to do these things day in, day out. So you really got to love it.
Yeah, if you're not happy at work, then what have you got? Brilliant. Paola, that's great. Thank you so much for chatting to us today. I really appreciate it. It's been really lovely talking to you.
It was fun. Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see each other again soon.